Hey there guys, I wanted to do a little technical analysis and show you guys how to use trend lines and how to create them. So as we look in the week ahead, we'll come back to these trend lines and see how well they do. So stay tuned to my videos, please like and subscribe. Comment if you guys want me to analyze any other stocks. I'm just going to analyze a few today and just show you guys how to do it. So as we look at Apple here, we're going to create some trend lines. So we're in an uptrend right now here. We're on the 1 day chart and we're going to zoom in. And when you create trend lines, how most traders do it is they go through the wicks. So these bottom parts of the candles. Some go right through the candles. It's totally your preference, but most traders will go through the wicks. So as I have my trend line selected here, I'm going to go through as many wicks as I can to kind of get that bottom there. Okay, and we can just kind of fix it a little bit. Maybe go like that. Okay, so we have it through about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have it almost through all 6 of them. Okay, so as we look at this, what we want to analyze is for the coming week ahead, where could we potentially go? Well, this trend line is showing obviously upwards, but what it could also mean is that if we break this trend line here, it's going to be an indication for a lot of traders to then short the stock and go downwards. And how we analyze which way we're really going is for myself, I use a few other technical analysis tools. So for one, I use the MACD, and then I use a moving average indicator. And my moving average indicators set on a 5 day, 8 day, and 13 day, mainly for trading during the day. Other indicators that I use is a 20, 50, and 200 day. I use an 8 day on its own. I use a 100 day, or I just use the 20 and the 50. I also use a relative strength index, which can show you basically if it's oversold or undersold the stock. Okay, so as we look at this chart, what we want to see in the week ahead is if we break this trend. And as I zoom out a little bit, it's a bit far, but as we zoom out, you can see we're just right here. That little dot was just right here. But as we go through the next couple weeks, we create a resistance line as well. And I created on the 149.74. The reason I created there is because if we go back a little bit, this was a recent high, which we're getting close to, right? We're at 149.58 right now. And basically, if we can go in an uptrend like we are doing, and we break through that 149.74, then we could see a potential even bigger upside to 156. Now, will that happen? Who knows? But we create these trend lines and these resistance lines just to indicate where we could potentially go as an indication for traders to follow the trends, to follow the trades that other people are doing. Now, if we look at it at another standpoint, I have other lines here created. These are called support lines, and basically they are from the lows that we've hit. Okay, they're the lows that we've hit. Now, if we break through on the other side of this trend line here, we could potentially go down, and then we could potentially hit a 143.20, and if we continue to go down, then we can hit 138.79. And basically, traders, they create these lines to give either a buy or a sell indication. So once we break that trend line, then we can start looking at the downtrend and where we could then go. Well, a lot of traders will be looking at this line to either get a bounce back. We could either bounce back like it did here on this trend line, and then we can have a buy zone, or it can break through this line, and then we could potentially have a sell zone to where we could sell from here to here, and then it's either a buy or a sell, depending how much farther it could go, even to 132.70. So we create these trend lines and support lines and resistance lines to indicate if it's a good time to buy in or it's a good time to sell. Alrighty, looking at PayPal here now. Okay, so let's go to a 1-day chart and let's zoom in here. So PayPal was another good one that had a run up. So we have a run up here, and basically we'll grab our trend line. We'll kind of create it somewhere like so. I'm just gonna go like that, and then I'm just gonna move it over, put it through as many candles as I can. Alright, so if we look at PayPal here, we could see, could it go through this trend line and start going in a more downward spiral like it did over here? Well, we'll have to wait until Tuesday, obviously, but we can use this indicator as, okay, it's hit this trend line, now it can either go both ways. So when we look at that, then what we want to do is we want to go to like about maybe a 5-minute or a 3-minute chart. Okay, and if we go to the 5-minute or 3-minute chart, you're going to then see, okay, we are kind of in an uptrend. And then we want to go through this and really look at our moving averages. So if we look at our moving averages, this thin line here, that's the 5-day moving average. Then we have a little bit of a thicker line here, that's the 8-day, and then another thicker line, that's the 13-day. Basically, when the 5 and the 8 go through the 13, it's an indication that we're in a downtrend. And then if they go up through the 13 the other way, then we're in an uptrend. So for example, if we look at it here, we see the 5 is here and then the 8's here. You can see that the 5 then goes through the 8 and the 13, and then the 8 follows and goes through the 13 as well. Now we're in a downtrend. Okay, you can see that there. And then you can see as we go in the uptrend here, you can see that the 5 goes through the 8 and the 13, and then the 8 comes through and shoots up through the 13 as well. And as you can see now, the 5 is through the 13. This is our trend line here, but the 5 here has broken through the 13, where we could then start to see the 8 break through. As you can see, they're both kind of colliding right here, right there, they're colliding, and we use these indicators as points to either see if it's a downtrend or an uptrend. Alright, we'll go through one more stock with these 3 indicators. I'm going to use Tesla, okay? We're going to go to a 1-day chart here, zoom in, and then basically we're going to grab our trend line creator, and we're just going to go through as many as we can here. 1, 2, 3 or so right there. Okay, so we're there, about there. Okay, so we're almost through about 4. Okay, so make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so as we look through this, we have our trend line created, and we have our lowest of our lows. So this is another way. So we draw our horizontal line to indicate a low. So basically, as we follow this trend line, if we break through this trend line here, we can potentially see a downturn. Now what has to happen for that downturn, for example, we look at this, is that once this crosses over this trend line, we have to see it go down and then down one more time to really get a sell indication to short the stock. So for example, here we see it hit the trend line here, and then it hits again, and then we see a downturn right here. Obviously that hit the trend line, but it bounced back because there wasn't a double downturn, so it was a buy indication, and that caused us to continue up that trend line in a buy zone. Now, if this crosses over the trend line, obviously we want to see 2 down indications, and then it would be a good sell turn point, and then you can short the stock. And then we want to follow, as we short the stock, we can follow to this support line here, which can then be an indication for other traders, like, okay, when we hit this line, can we either buy or can we either sell? And if it's a buy, basically you want to see it bounce off of that resistance and start working its way up. Then we know that this is a buy zone. If it breaks through this support, then we know that it will be a continuation of shorting the stock. And then when we look at this as well, we can follow our moving averages, right? And we can follow them throughout, right? So we have our trend line set up, we have our moving averages. So as you can see, we are in an uptrend. If we look closely here, we have the 5 moving up here, the closest one. Then we have the 8, which is that middle one, and both of them you can see are breaking through this 13 line here, this 13-day moving average line there. So we are still in an uptrend. Once these start to turn over, like it did up here, once they start to turn over through the 13th, we know that that is going to also be an indication of a sell zone. Now, when we also look at those 3 indicators, or those 2 indicators, we want to look through to this MACD as well. And it just kind of helps us look at, okay, is there a potential turnaround for sure? And as we look at the MACD, it also follows through to what the moving averages are doing. So when this line follows through, when the MACD signal line follows through, we can see that we're in a downtrend, right? And it goes red. And then when it breaks through upwards, we can see that we are in an uptrend, as you can see. And then again, it breaks through, we can see that it's in a downtrend and it's red. And then as you can see, you can see the MACD, it didn't break through here, which showed us that there was an indication of still a downtrend. So we use all of these indicators to really help us predict whether it's a good time to buy or a good time to sell or a good time to short the position. So I hope that helped clarify how to use trend lines, support lines, and resistance lines. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. This is my 7th YouTube video, so understand I will get better with time, and I really appreciate you guys checking it out. Thanks. Have a good rest of your day. Please like and subscribe.